I am just an old rocking chair. I don't speak. I don't walk. I don't see the world the same way you do. But over the years, I've learned that time passes not only for people, but for objects as well. I've lived many lives. I've seen many generations come and go. I've seen hearts warm and break, secrets whispered, and laughter shared. And all I did was rock gently, as if the very nature of life were a continuous movement, with no hurry to reach the end. Have you ever stopped to think about what an old rocking chair might know about a life? Not just one or two, but many. I am a rocking chair, or rather, I was one. And over the years, I've learned more about human beings than any book or conversation could teach me. I've seen the joys, the pains, the silences, and the shouts. I am a witness to stories you might never have imagined. It's strange, isn't it? A simple chair. But I am more than that. I was the confidant of many generations, and each of you has something to learn from me. So, if you have a little patience, I will tell you my story. Once upon a time, there was a simple room, with walls of aged wood, a worn-out rug, and a sweet aroma of old books. A place where time seemed to have stopped, where peace reigned and conversations flowed at a slow pace, as if the world outside was no longer important. In a corner, near the window, I was there. Quiet, always in the same place. An old rocking chair. Sometimes forgotten, other times sought out for a familiar touch. But even when no one saw me, I saw everything. I saw what happened there, without hurry, without judgment. Everything that passed through those doors. And I can assure you, I saw much more than you can imagine from a simple chair. The first time someone sat on me, it was a young woman with curly hair and a tired but serene gaze. She was coming from a long day and seemed to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders. But as she approached me, something in her gaze changed. She touched me as if touching something valuable, something that had been waiting for her. And then she sat down. She settled in, let out that sigh of relief, and without a single word, began to rock. That movement, soft, uninterrupted, almost like a dance with time. I cradled her, without hurry, without omen. I knew she wasn't just looking for rest. She was looking for something more. And I knew, from that moment on, that it would be my mission to be there whenever she needed a place to lose herself in her thoughts. As time passed, more people approached. I saw that space transform. The young woman became a mother, then a grandmother. And what was once a small, quiet house was now filled with laughter, tears, and intertwining stories. And I, always there, firm and constant, saw all of this. I didn't care that the walls aged or that the rug lost its colors. I was there, waiting, to be the refuge for those seeking something more than a simple seat. I wanted to be more than that. I wanted to be the safe harbor for all of them. It was a house full of voices. But at the end of the day, when the children were asleep and the noise subsided, I always knew who would come looking for me. The woman, now older, would sit on me as if returning to something precious. She would settle in, her eyes tired, but her spirit calm. And I, as always, would rock gently, as if saying, "Everything will be all right. You've already done your best." But what fascinated me the most was seeing how the generations succeeded each other, how each new person, with their own way of being, found solace in my presence. Each of us, in our journey, has something that shapes us, that makes us seek something, a moment of peace. For that woman, I was the place where she left the anxieties of life and surrendered to quietude. But for her son, well, for him, I was something different. He was a child, a boy with big, curious eyes, who approached me for the first time. He didn't know it yet, but something in him changed at that moment. He was sad, perhaps from a difficult day at school, perhaps because the world seemed too big for him. But when he sat down, something about the way he settled there told me everything. He didn't speak, but he understood, but he knew I was there for him, just as I had been for his mother, and before her, for his grandmother. I felt the weight of his loneliness, the anguish of a boy growing up. But at the same time, he also brought me a renewal. He touched me with more curiosity than any of the others. He didn't need to speak, because he was already sharing something important. And as always, I rocked gently, giving him the comfort he sought without ever needing to say a word. I watched him grow. I saw how he, once so small, began to learn about the world. He had his own experiences, his own pains and joys, but he always came back to me. Sometimes just to sit and be silent, other times to think aloud, to share his doubts with the surrounding space. I knew he would go through difficult times, as we all do, but I was there for him. Always, just as I had been for all the others. But nothing in life is eternal, and even the most solid of presences eventually needs to say goodbye. The old lady, who always sat on me with that serene gaze, with her hands slightly trembling, was gone. I saw her for the last time, with her measured steps, sitting on my backrest for that moment of reflection. But she never returned. When she was gone, the house became a different place. Silence settled where there had once been conversations, laughter, and even lively discussions. I missed her, and as always, I waited. I waited for her to return, but I knew she wouldn't. She had been a part of me, just as I had been a part of her. But life, as always, follows its course, and nothing can truly stop time. So, who came to me next? The boy? The boy with curious eyes. He entered as he always did, with the same lightness. But that day, something was different. I could feel the change in the air. He touched me with a gentleness that showed more than simple affection. He was seeking something, not just comfort, but a way to deal with loss. He sat down, taking his time, and for a moment, the house seemed to breathe with him. I knew what he needed, what everyone needs when facing the pain of losing someone dear. Time. Time to process, to understand, to grow with the pain. I was no longer just a rocking chair to him. I was the connection to the memory of his grandmother, to everything she represented, everything she had taught him without words. And he, now more mature, understood this. That gentle rocking, that familiar sound, was more than a gesture of comfort. It was a way to continue the legacy of peace and welcome that she had started. And on that day, as he stood up, he looked at me with a gaze I had never seen before. It was no longer the gaze of a boy. It was the gaze of someone who was beginning to understand the cycle of life. And I knew that, in some way, he would also pass on what he had received. Like me, he would be a support for someone, perhaps for his own children or for others who would come. But he had understood what it meant to be a point of support, a refuge. As the boy grew up, he understood what I knew from the beginning. Our existence, like my rocking, is made of cycles. What is today transforms tomorrow. But what really matters is not what we are, but what we leave behind. The memories we keep, the support we give each other. And now, here I am, older, more worn, but still firm, waiting for others to come and sit. Because, like all the others, I too need a moment of rest, a moment to reflect. But I don't mind being forgotten, being left aside. I know I've done my part. I was a refuge, a confidant, a support. And even now, as the world around me changes, I know that the peace I gave to those who sat on me will not be forgotten. Perhaps you, on the other side, wonder what you can learn from the story of an old chair But I tell you, perhaps the lesson lies in the simple act of stopping, of sitting, of reflecting, and of understanding that sometimes we are more important than we imagine. We are the supports, the silent refuges in the lives of others. Who knows, by looking at a rocking chair, you might also remember your own stories, and in some way, remember that all of us, even objects, have a role in each other's lives. The difference is that we, the objects, know that our purpose is not to last forever. But while we last, we do our part. If you felt touched by this story and want to continue exploring the fascinating world of objects and their memories, I invite you to come back whenever you need a moment to reflect, to think, or even to feel. I have many other stories to share, of objects that hold secrets, of lives that touch ours in unexpected ways. So, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and come discover what else lies behind the details that surround us. Until next time, where a new story awaits you.